It has been a while since I have done a book review, but I have been reading. So I have a lot that are about to come. But today I want to talk about The Housemaid. Now, again, just like The Fourth Wing, this is another popular series that I'm extremely late on. And my sorority sister, she recommended it to me, and I'm so glad she did. I am through two of the books, and I just started the third, and I am obsessed. This is another series I blew through. They are not heavy at all. I believe both books were somewhere between 300 and 400 pages, so easy breezy, lemon squeezy. And the main character is Millie, and when I first started the series, I thought that she was crazy. But of course, with the twist and the psychological thriller and the mystery, you just never know what's going to happen next. Even the second book was well worth the read. Even though you are familiar with the author's style of writing, she completely changes the story. Millie is a character that you can grow with. The first book starts when she is 27, and then they do a time jump in the second book 5 years, so she is 32. And then the third book, they jump ahead 11 years. So now she's in her 40s with 2 kids. And so her story is evolving each book. And even though you get an idea of what might happen, you never can guess the why or the how. So it keeps you on the edge of your seat, and I think it's well worth the read. I cannot wait to finish the third book and tell you my overall thoughts on this. Okay, I am halfway through the third book, The Housemaid is Watching, and oh my goodness, Millie and her son and their dynamic and what they're going through, so relatable. I am loving this book so far. I love really being able to see her progress through these different steps of going from recently released from jail, single, almost even kind of traumatized by men, to dating in the second book and solidifying her relationship with Enzo, to now being married and being a mom and going through all the trials and tribulations of trying to do right by your kids and trying to understand what to expose them to, how much to expose them to, how to provide them with resources when you're noticing behavioral changes. Chef's kiss. Okay, so I have finished the third book. I am done with the Housemaid series. And of course, I have just a couple unpopular opinions now that it's all said and done. So for the first book, The Housemaid, when I was reading the first book, like just in that moment, I was irritated or annoyed by Millie's inherent distrust for Nina. I feel that if she had a little more empathy and trust for the situation, she wouldn't have fallen for Nina's manipulation tactics so easily. But I definitely understand, considering Millie's background with helping her friend and that leading to her going to jail, and then her friend not even standing up for her or maintaining a relationship with her, how it can be hard for her to trust a woman. But I think if that part of her was healed, she wouldn't have necessarily ended up in the situation. Okay, for The Housemaid's Secret, my unpopular opinion is that she did not develop Wendy enough as the villain. So when you get to the twist at the end, at least for me, it felt like it was a little bit lacking Wendy's true motivation outside of not just being a good person. And I understand that as a theme and concept, that sometimes people are not good people and you have to be careful who you trust. And I think it was an interesting overcorrection from Millie not trusting Nina in the first novel to blindly trusting Wendy in the second novel and being manipulated that way. But I feel like if she was going to go that route of making Wendy the villain, then she should have fully committed and really gave us a story in which Wendy is a villain. Like, wanted to see Wendy do something like truly awful for, Millie to have gone through all the trouble of trying to help her. With that being said, the third book, The Housemaid is Watching. Oh my goodness. It was so many twists at the end of this book that my head was spinning, but in a great way. I was so happy with the way that the series ended. I feel like I could not ask for anything better. It was wrapped up wonderfully. The last story, the last twist, I mean, it grips your heart, especially as a parent, as a mother. You know, everything that the family goes through. Heartbreaking, but exquisitely done. There were so many themes in the last book to touch on. The first one is how cycles repeat themselves. So try not to give too many spoilers. At the end of the book, Millie's children go through a very similar experience that she did in the first book at the hands of one of their neighbors. And for that to come back and for her to try to be a diligent, hardworking mother supporting her family, but her getting so wrapped up in her marriage and things that are going on inside of that she has these blind spots in which her kids get into one of the most unthinkable situations that you would ever want to imagine. And for her having to relive that, I think that was crazy. It was a crazy roller coaster going through that. This novel, the third book, Millie has 2 children. Ada is her older child, her daughter, and it's crazy, the oldest daughter syndrome that is written so accurately and depicted so accurately in this book, because Ada takes on the quiet, strong, smart, I don't have to worry about you role, while her brother is originally not a problem child, but as things happen in the book, he starts to become a problem child. But she has to hold it all together for the family, to the point where she's also going through a situation and nobody knows, and when it all comes out at the very end, nobody suspects, or at least her parents did not suspect, that anything is going on with her and that she would be involved in anything that had happened. And then the last theme I want to touch on is just about predation. That is the last topic of the book, is that they inadvertently moved into a neighborhood where a child predator was lurking, and a violent one at that. And she unwittingly put her children in his grasp. And I think it was frightening, but real, again, as a parent, to think about how you want to trust people, you want to have the best intentions, but when it comes to your children in this day and age, unfortunately, you just can't. You cannot take these kind of risks with your children. It doesn't mean you can't build community and have friends, but people have to be thoroughly vetted. You just moved to a new neighborhood. Your neighbor is not somebody you've spent enough time around to say that your child should be around them, in my opinion. At least for me, I won't be doing it with my kid. Okay, y'all, so I woke up with The Housemaid is Watching still on my mind. It was nagging me that it was something I did not mention when I was giving my review. Reiterate the theme of, you have to know your kids, man. When Millie started noticing that her 9-year-old was acting completely different, and instead of diving in more, I get that she was talking about it with her husband, I get it's a family decision, she presented to her husband that she thought their son needed therapy, but I feel because she was so wrapped up in trying to figure out what was going on with her husband, she didn't do some of the legwork that she could have done in-house by just spending more time with him, having more conversations with him. Because if I'm noticing, my son's mood, attitude, behavior is drastically changing, and as a survivor of, sexual emotional abuse as well, I'm already clued in that, okay, kids do not just change overnight for no reason. Not to say you always want to jump to something bad is happening to my kid, but I'm going to at least try to investigate to make sure. And with Millie's background, I would have thought that she would have paid a little bit more attention and tried to find more resources for her son sooner. So overall, I definitely recommend the book series if you have not read it already, which most of you probably have, unless you're like me and just incredibly late or resistant to trendy things. I don't know, because I'd seen people reading the book and I just didn't bite on it, but I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad that it was recommended to me, and now I'm passing along the recommendation.